Okay, so it's time for us to continue our coverage over Elektra. And now we're going to pick back up with some good old Robert Rodi's run on the actual character. Now, like I said in our last couple of videos, when it came to Robert Rodi, he kind of ignored everything Greg Rucka did when it came to the character of Elektra. The whole idea that Greg's goal was to take Elektra and actually turn her into a hero. But thanks to Robert Rodi, she's kind of back to her old ways again, being a true assassin, going around the world killing off different targets. Now, you're going to notice that we have skipped over issue number 28, and here's the reason why. You see, when it comes to issue number 28, it's really more of an epilogue for a couple story arcs we had did when it came to Robert Rodi's run on the character. You see, in that one single issue, we just learned that basically there was a group of brokers who were kind of behind the scenes the entire time, and the ones who had hired Elektra to go after the different targets around the world in our last couple videos. But then they decided that they want to go ahead and get rid of her, basically kill her off, because just in case, they will make sure that nothing gets back to them. But when she found out they were trying to kill her off, she said, you know what? I don't like that. And she technically killed off the entire group. That was just issue number 28. Like I said, it was not really that important for us to cover. It was kind of like, okay, cool. Now we know who hired her for all these different targets, and that's really it. And also, they tried to double cross her, and she killed them. And so now we're able to move on to the next story arc. And so getting into issue number 29, today's storyline, we actually pick up with Elektra in a small island called Nau. And I really hope I pronounced that correctly. I try my best to go online and figure out how to pronounce the word. And unfortunately, I couldn't find anything at all. Like, I tried my best. Either way, when it comes to Nau, it's a small island near Taiwan. Now, over the years, this small island has been ruled by other countries around the world, like Great Britain, for example, but they're finally free. But here comes the big problem, though. You see, you now have a cult on the actual island. Now, the cult worships a god, the god of death in their culture, named Bara. Now, Bara means the god of death, like I said earlier. Now, for this cult, they do have a leader, and that'll be Piaka Lowell. And it basically means the bloody prophet, because this person was supposedly chosen by the god of death, Bara. And so now this guy was able to build up a cult, a nice sized army of people to possibly use to throw over the government of this nation. And that's where Elektra comes in, because somebody who works in the government office had actually hired her to help out with this situation, because they are afraid that sooner or later this actual cult might try to attack the capital and actually try to overthrow the government. And that right there will be a huge problem for this nation, a nation that is still trying to grow after years and years of being controlled by other nations around the world. Now, for this guy, he tells Elektra this, that nobody has officially seen the actual cult leader, but apparently this person is able to speak his words to get people involved, to have them fall in line with his actual goals. Now, on top of that, he also tells Elektra that most likely the cult's base is somewhere in the mountains. And that is a huge problem, because the actual nation has not been able to actually map out the actual mountain. So they have no idea where the exact base of the cult is at, but it's somewhere in the mountains. And so for Elektra, her goal, find the base, find the leader, and kill him off before this cult is able to possibly ruin this nation. But now we are going to shift our focus over to one of the members of the cult. Now, when it comes to this member of the actual cult, we don't actually know his name, but we're going to be using him as a way to get a POV of what it's like to be a cult member of this cult. And we do learn very quickly here that apparently they go around the countryside of this nation and burning down all the farms on the countryside, but also killing off the people who had owned those farms. And the reason why, because those people, those farms, they are falling in line with the actual government, going against what the cult actually stands for. And so because of that, they all have been killed off and their farms have been burned down. Now, the member that we are actually following, we see him being able to wrap up a head of somebody he had killed. And he takes that head back over to where the actual base of the cult is at. And so we're kind of getting a good idea of where the actual base is at. Somewhere deep in the mountains where it, of course, snows a lot in that area. Now, like I said earlier, nobody truly knows what the cult leader actually looks like. Nobody knows who it actually is, it seems like, because you have this one member getting very upset because he wants to, apparently, a lot of people want to just go ahead and actually attack the Capitol. But apparently, the leader of this cult has not decided when they are actually going to do it. And apparently, he wants a word with the actual leader. He's also very upset about the idea that he's not allowed to put the head of a person that he had just killed on top of a pole. But either way, you do have the guy try to walk over to the actual building the leader is currently in. But then he is stopped by the general. Now, we learn here that apparently the general is the only person who has actually seen the leader. And he tells this guy, no, you are not allowed to talk to him. No, you are not allowed to go in there at all. Right now, you talk to me. And then I talk to him. And I get it. You're getting very upset about the idea that we have not attacked the Capitol. Just know that it's coming very soon. Now, we do learn here that apparently the government official, had told Elektra that their main goal was to get the king, the queen, and the princess off the island. Now, the king is apparently already gone. It's now time for the queen and also for the princess. Now, the princess, she's on her way over to the airport, to the plane that's going to get her off the island. But the problem is that her transport team, they get ambushed by members of the cult. And just like that, one by one, each member of this actual transport team is taken out by the members of the cult. And then they're able to grab the princess and take her back to their base. And so now the princess is actually their prisoner. But as we jump back over to the actual base of the cult, that is when you have everyone gather around the actual building the cult leader stays in, where you have the cult leader reveal himself to every single member of the cult. Now, we don't get the chance to actually see the leader of the cult. It's actually saved for a later part in this story arc. But for right now, this cult leader is able to speak his words, to get everyone motivated, to get everyone ready to actually attack the Capitol. And every single member, they're falling in line. They're getting ready to go ahead and follow their leader's orders to attack the Capitol, to actually bring it down. But getting back over to the princess, who's currently a prisoner for, well, this cult, we do learn that apparently they don't have the princess, that in reality they have Elektra, that actually she wore a disguise to pretend to look just like the princess so that she would be able to find the actual base of the cult, but to also get close enough to kill off the cult leader. And so just like that, she's now able to go on with her mission with an easier chance of killing off her target. And so as we dive into Elektra issue number 30, it's really more of, well, Robert Rodi trying to remind us that Elektra is a master assassin. Now, technically, we already know that. Like, come on. It's Elektra. Of course she's a master assassin. But what I mean by that statement is that it's really more of her showing off her speed, being able to move around the base without anybody actually seeing her. And if they do see her, bam, they're killed off just like that in a matter of seconds. And so for Elektra, it's her trying her best, just going around the actual base of this cult to hopefully figure out who is the actual leader of the cult, because she has to find him and then, of course, kill him off. And so it's just her just listening in on all the different conversations going on around the actual base, hoping to hear the right one that could lead her over to the person she needs to kill. Now, for Elektra, she does find an old man who's talking to younger members of the actual cult. Now, for this old man, it's him really explaining why he joined the cult. Because for the younger people, they had joined the cult for a completely different reason. They had joined the cult because, well, they were promised the idea of getting a huge amount of money, the idea of getting a lot of women. It's the whole idea of them getting things in reward for helping out taking down the capital. But for the old man, it's completely different. He says, listen, let me tell y'all why I joined the cult, because I've been on this island for a very long time, but I also know the history of the island as well. I know that this island has been taken over by many nations around the world. We have been forced to speak their tongues. We have been forced to praise their gods. And unfortunately, our culture was dying off piece by piece by piece. And so when Bara, the god of death, said that his prophet would come back one day, and he did, we realized, me and the older members of this cult realized, it's finally happening. This older God is bringing back his prophet to lead us back into our ways, the ways that were destroyed over time thanks to other cultures. Now, for the younger people, they're kind of like laughing at him because they realize that he truly believes that the cult leader is actually this prophet for the god of death. But either way, it's him saying, you are the fools, because this leader is going to change the island for the betterment of all our people. Now, once you had the young folks run off to go ahead and get ready to raid the capital, the old man falls down and he sees Elektra. Now, this moment right here is really important for his character, but you do have Elektra continue on to find the actual leader. Now, getting back over to the guards who were assigned to watch the princess, really more Elektra in disguise as the princess, well, the next guard comes for his shift, and he realized the last guard is no longer there. He's kind of like, okay, that's weird. Now, in reality, the other guard is being used right now by Elektra as a prop, make it seem like the princess is just asleep. But in reality, it's a dead body right there, and Elektra is just running around the entire base of the cult. Now, the next guard to come in, he realized there's something off about the idea of the body on the bed. And he realized it's his friend, the first guard, who was assigned to watch over the princess. Again, being Elektra in disguise. But the problem is, by the time they find the dead body of that guard, explosions everywhere. It distracts every single member of the actual cult to give Elektra just enough time to hopefully find the leader of the cult. And thing is, she's actually able to find the main building where the cult leader is actually hiding out at. Except when she walks into the room to meet this cult leader, she actually sees a young boy. This young boy is actually the leader of the entire cult. And so as we dive into the final chapter for today's video, it's really more of Elektra kind of wondering what to do here, because now she realized it's a child that was actually the leader of the entire cult. And she's not really up to the idea of killing off a young boy. And so she walks away, and she's kind of wondering how in the world is she going to be able to actually complete this contract, because she was hired to kill off the cult leader, and the cult leader is a child. Now, because Elektra did cause a lot of explosions earlier, doing a lot of damage to the actual, base of the cult, you do have some members telling the general of the cult, like, hey, listen, we only lost a few men, but hey, we have lost a lot of weapons, cannons, other kinds of gears we could use to possibly attack the capital. And so for the general, he wants to go ahead and give up. But then the young boy appear. Now remember, by this point, they already know the young boy is their cult leader, and he begins to give out another powerful speech. Now, here's the problem though, because he is now talking about the idea of just going ahead and continuing to attack the capital, even though right now they have lost a lot of weapons and other kind of gears that could possibly help them. But on top of that, they have lost a few men as well. And so for the general, it's kind of like, what are you doing? We do not stand a chance attacking the capital. We are going to lose. But for the cult leader, he's all like, no, we got this. We can do it. And every single member of the cult, they're kind of, again, falling in line with their leader. And word spreads very quickly. And let me explain, because if you were a farmer, like I said earlier, if you were a farmer or you were somebody who was part of a farmland, if you believed in the government over the cult, you'll be killed off and your farm would be burned down. But if you were on the other side, like you actually believe in the cult, you would live, but also when the time comes, you would actually join the army in the attack of the actual capital. And so you have all these different farmers or helping hands beginning to join the marching of the actual cult, heading towards the actual capital. They're getting ready for the big battle. But now nighttime comes around. It's time for them to rest. But this leads into Elektra being able to pull off her master plan. But I want to jump back over to the old man again. Here's the reason why, because remember, the old man truly believed in the cult leader, but in a completely different reason. He believed that if the cult was able to take over the government, then the old ways of this nation will finally come back after years and years being locked away thanks to other nations controlling this actual nation. But you did have some younger members go over to the older man, and he says, listen, I no longer believe in the cult. I no longer believe in the whole idea of our old ways coming back. And it's kind of like, okay, that's a huge change in this character. What happened to him? Well, he said he saw the angel of death. And of course, he's talking about Elektra. But I want to get back over to the cult leader. Here's the reason why, because you have the cult leader being actually excited about the fact that his army is slowly growing, that he was able to get more people on his side. He truly believes that maybe, just maybe, they should be able to win the battle against the capital. But the problem is you have the general go off. And the reason why? Because the general was the one who put everything together. Let me explain. You see, for the young boy, he lost his mom at the age of 4 years old. And so he was founded by the general. Now, when it came to the general, he realized that he had a great opportunity to build up a cult here. And so what he did was he used the young boy as a way to build up an army by saying the young boy is the prophet who's supposed to lead the army into the war against the capital to overthrow the government. But in reality, it was just a general trying to reach that goal. And so all the different kinds of decisions that were being made was really more the general than the actual young boy. The young boy was just being used as a model, a figure to have people actually believe in. But now the young boy, he truly believes in what he was raised to supposedly be. He believes he is the prophet. And so you have other members of the cult kill off the general. And so now the young boy is truly in charge of the entire cult. But this begins the downfall for the actual, cult leader, because then he sees all these different guys around him just dying one by one. Every time he calls out for help and people run towards him to see what in the world is going on, they die. It is Elektra just showing off her speed, showing off how fast she is, because she's able to kill off all these different people without actually being seen. And so right now, for this young boy, he's freaking out. He is screaming for help, and more people are trying to come over to actually help him out. But I want to jump back over to that old man once again, and here's the reason why. Because you have the old man telling us why he had changed his ways. And he says, listen, I ran into a god, the god of death, the goddess of death. And of course, he's talking about Elektra. Now, he was drunk and he fell down when he had actually met her. And so because of him being drunk and how fast she truly was, and also his head injury, how fast she moved, he believed that she was actually real, the goddess of death. And she said, "Listen to me, old man. Your God is not real. He has no authority over you at all." And then she disappeared at a very fast pace. And so, because of that, he believed that he was confronted by the actual angel of death. And so overnight, you have Elektra just killing off more and more members of this actual cult to the point where it all comes down to being just a young boy. She found a different way to actually kill him because without his cult, what can he do? Without his cult, he cannot attack the capital. He cannot overthrow the government. He can no longer be in charge at all. And now it's just people on the island who never truly believed in the cult in the first place. And so Elektra found a different way to actually complete the contract, to kill off her target without actually killing him. And so the book kind of ends on the note where you have the young boy still out there with all the dead bodies of his fallen soldiers, where you do have soldiers of the government arrive to pick up all the dead bodies. Now, for the young boy, he still believes in himself to the point where he believes that he's actually able to recruit other people into his cult. And so he walks up to some soldiers like, "Hey, listen, I know that you work for the government, but like, join my side, the cult side." And they look at him kind of like, "Nah, bro, we heard about you. You're just a child that was able to trick a bunch of people into believing that you're some kind of prophet. But in reality, you're just a young boy." And that's really it. And so they pick him up and they take him away to a nearby orphanage. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.